Imagine reliving the same nightmare 99 times. A desperate father turns back time again and again, trying to save his daughter from the zombie apocalypse. But every attempt ends in failure until the very last time when he discovers a safe military shelter. He finally believes he can protect her, but fate plays a cruel twist. The father himself begins to turn into a zombie. Our story kicks off with a tragic scene. A girl lies lifeless in the pouring rain. From the darkness, a grim voice echoes, admitting he was the one who took her life. Then we see a middle-aged man kneeling beside the young woman's body, completely devastated. Tears of regret stream down his face as he reveals he's done this 99 times. This same scene of despair has played out over and over in this dark, rainy place. The man stands up. This is his last and final chance to save her. With only a single opportunity left, he's filled with the determination to change the future. His eyes glow as he promises the girl, whose name is Dami, that this time he won't fail. Suddenly, the scene shifts, and our protagonist wakes up with a jolt in his bed back in the past. In that moment, watching the news on TV, he realizes he's gone back to the very beginning of it all. Mysterious creatures had appeared, and in an instant, the world as he knew it had collapsed. His daughter, Dami, shows up and asks her dad what he's staring at with that look on his face. Seeing his little girl alive in front of him, he remembers how they had to struggle to survive in the future. The man recalls a painful memory, holding his daughter's nearly lifeless body in his arms. For a middle-aged guy and a young girl, just surviving in that world was a living nightmare. He remembers one timeline where he gave up and ended his own life. But at the moment it was all over, a rope symbolically snapped in the void. A blinding golden light appeared, and a divine figure emerged before him. Our protagonist then found himself on his knees before this floating celestial being. The deity, with a smile, told him he would be given one more chance to try again. Back in the present, his eyes widen as cold sweat drips down his face. He's now lying in his bed, wide awake and fully aware of his situation. The man sits up, wondering in shock how this trip back in time was even possible. Then he notices something odd, a strange mark on his forehead. Looking in the mirror, the man sees the number 99 and wonders what it means. Filled with newfound resolve, he clenches his fist with all his might. He bolts out of his room and starts pounding on Daisy's bedroom door. The girl opens the door a bit annoyed, asking what's going on in the middle of the night. Her father grabs her by the shoulders, frantically asking if she's alive and okay. His hand grips her arm tightly, showing all his desperation and worry. With no time for explanations, he pulls her out of the house, telling her to just follow him. The girl complains that she's tired, but her dad insists there's no time to talk. With a desperate look on his face, he yells that they need to run or they'll both meet their end right there. A zombie lunges at him, mouth wide open, ready to attack, but he wakes up again, screaming in bed, and the number on his forehead is now 98. His eyes fly open in shock as he realizes what just happened again. The man stares at himself in the mirror and sees the number has gone down, confirming his suspicion. In that moment, an expression of pure determination takes over his face. He finally understands that the number represents his remaining lives. In other words, it's the number of chances he has to save his beloved daughter. From there, we see an action scene with our hero taking out one of the undead. He did his best in every life to save her, using anything he could find as a weapon, even if it meant abandoning all his human morality to fight, because for her, her father would do anything, but she'd still get captured by the zombies anyway. In all of his attempts, he fought bravely against the hordes of monsters. The man clutched a blood-stained knife, a testament to everything he did to survive. But he remembered that no matter how hard he fought, the outcome was always the same, and as time went on, his strikes became stronger and filled with rage. He used any weapon he could find to face the creatures tirelessly. His combat skills improved with each life, but his number of chances dwindled. His movements became more precise. He was no longer a simple family man. Now he was a seasoned warrior, forged by the countless battles he had fought. Our hero became a zombie-eliminating machine, slicing and smashing all of them. After a long fight, he would stop exhausted in the middle of a sea of lifeless bodies. But no matter how many chances he had, he was determined not to give up on her. However, he then realized his daughter had already turned into a monster too. The zombie girl walked toward him, calling for her dad and begging to be saved. And with a vacant stare, she launched herself at him in a hungry, desperate attack. All that father could do was let his daughter pass away in his arms once more. He would point the weapon at himself to end the cycle of pain. Back in his final life, a single tear escapes from his closed eye. But this wasn't a tear of surrender. It was one of pure determination to keep going. Even lying in his bed, he remembered the pain of all his previous failures. With a new plan in mind, he gets up, ready to try one more time, but differently. He wouldn't shed any more tears of sadness, because now he would do whatever it took to save her. Suddenly, he hears a noise and sees his daughter waking up in her bed, confused. The young woman leaves her room and asks what her dad was doing making so much noise at this hour. Then, the girl sees that her father is already dressed in survival gear and holding a knife. She is shocked by the scene and doesn't understand any of what is happening. Her father stares at her with an intense, determined look as she calls out to him, frightened. With his hand outstretched, he approaches slowly so as not to scare the girl any further. To her surprise, he pulls her into a tight hug, showing all his affection. He holds her in his arms, feeling the relief of having her there, safe and sound. With a firm voice, he promises that he would save her no matter what happened. Even if he failed 1,000,000 times, he swears that as long as he was alive, he would protect her. With a serious look, he asks his daughter to just trust him on this journey. The young woman is confused by her father's behavior, but her eyes show that she believes in him. He then remembers a moment in Daejeon where he carried his daughter in his arms. But this was the life where he found the perfect shelter on his 99th attempt. In that place, the army protected the gates and ensured the safety of all survivors. Inside the shelter, there was a full medical team to care for all the wounded. Because of this, order never collapsed, and the place became a true paradise. In that life, he lived for a very long time, until he was an old man in a wheelchair. He then found himself in a cemetery visiting his daughter's grave after 40 years. That's why he needed to be careful. This was his very last chance to save her. Now he was certain of his plan and what he needed to do to change their fate. The man realized the place wasn't dangerous and would be their final destination. So he ended his own life to get one last chance to save his beloved daughter. Back in the present, the protagonist closes his eyes and prepares for what's to come. Now, father and daughter are geared up and ready to begin their survival journey. The father looks at his daughter with eyes full of determination for the road ahead. Beside him, the young woman also looks serious and ready for whatever comes next. He remembers that Dami was always fated to perish before they reached the shelter, and it all happened because of a mistake he would make along the way. That's why he rehearsed for 40 years to keep his daughter alive until the end. With his hand on the doorknob, he prepares to put his perfect plan into action. This time, the protagonist was sure he wouldn't make any mistakes. But upon opening the door, he comes face to face with zombies right outside his house. A massive horde of the undead was waiting for them right on the street. The man realizes this was a variable he hadn't anticipated in his plans. Even with 40 years of practice, he wasn't ready for this surprise. Because of this, our hero freezes completely, unable to react. In many past attempts, this situation had never once been different. Then a massive monster roars, leading the charge against the two survivors. The zombie horde advances, their red eyes filled with hunger. The protagonist stands frozen at the door, staring at the horde of ravenous monsters. His face contorts in pure panic as his perfect plan goes down the drain. He remembers that in no previous life were there ever zombies at his front door. Suddenly, his daughter screams desperately at the terrible sight before her. In a quick reaction, the father shoves the girl away from the entrance of the house. The push sends the young woman tumbling to the floor, terrified, as he rushes to close the door. The man uses all his strength to hold the door shut and stop the monsters from invading. From inside, his daughter watches everything, her eyes filled with fear and confusion. Panic takes over her face as she realizes the gravity of the situation they were in. She screams once more, collapsed on the floor, unable to do anything to help her father. The girl gets up and asks what he thinks he's doing. She pounds on the door, begging him to open it and let her out. But the door can't hold against the pressure, and the zombies burst into the house, attacking him. Our hero screams in pain as he's completely overwhelmed by the hungry creatures. In his last breath, he feels the pain of having failed to protect his daughter yet again. On the other side of the door, his daughter cries desperately, watching her father's sacrifice. Before our hero, this final agony was already a very familiar sensation. In that moment, he remembers a happier time when his little girl was still a baby. He recalls the smile on her face when he was still a young, hopeful father. His only worry back then was making his little daughter smile and be happy. So, in his his thoughts, he asks his beloved girl not to cry for him anymore because he would protect her with his life, even if it cost him his last chance to live. The man then closes his eyes, wondering if it would all end in such a meaningless way. He couldn't just pass on for good and leave his daughter alone in this dangerous world. Then, with renewed determination, he stomps his foot hard on the ground and says he won't give up. With superhuman strength, the protagonist shoves the horde of zombies back. We see a smile of pure fury on his face. He would perish as many times as it took, but he screams that as long as his daughter was alive, he couldn't just pass away because our hero can't afford to fail on his last opportunity. A blast of energy sends all the undead flying away from him. One of the undead hits the ground as the protagonist takes his fighting stance. The creature looks at him with a confused stare, not understanding what was happening. Then the man charges at high speed toward the horde of enemies in front of him. He becomes a blur of fury, destroying every monster that gets in his way. Without hesitation, our hero bites down on a zombie's shoulder with all his might. His eyes glow with power as he shows everyone he has no more limits. With a savage roar, he tears a chunk out of the monster without a shred of mercy. The father uses another enemy's body as a weapon to attack the others. The man leaps into the air and smashes one creature into another with incredible force. Suddenly, a larger zombie tries to stop his attack, but he destroys it with a single blow. After an intense battle, he finally defeats them all, clearing his path. Even with his body covered in wounds, he faces the remaining monsters with determination. His powerful aura expands, showing that he was no longer a mere human. The remaining creatures now look at him with fear, backing away from his strength, but inside, his daughter is still on the floor, unaware of her fate. The door opens slowly, and the girl looks at the crack with great anticipation. The young woman looks up with tears in her eyes as her father thinks about his last chance. Then the protagonist appears before her, covered in injuries, and she stares at him in shock. The man tells his daughter not to worry, even if he isn't human anymore. With a look of determination, he swears he will protect her until the very end. In his new form, he asks his little girl if she is okay and safe. The scene then shifts to the Mapo district in Seal under the light of a full moon. There we see a mart, a supermarket serving as a refuge for survivors. A soldier on guard gets furious, wondering what was going on. Just then, our hero and his daughter run into a group of soldiers at the entrance. The soldier asks how they made it there alive with so many zombies everywhere. The soldier yells furiously, threatening to shoot if they don't answer immediately. The protagonist lowers his head in silence as the guard continues to yell at him. The man notices something strange and asks, "What's wrong with his face?" The soldier's eyes go wide with shock as he finally realizes the terrible truth. To the soldier's surprise, our hero is now wearing sunglasses, hiding his face. The soldier then asks if he's some kind of celebrity, and the man remains silent. Suddenly, a captain named Chihari appears and tells the guard to back off. The woman approaches and says there's no room, telling them to find another place. She gets closer to him with an annoyed look and repeats for him to get lost. The soldier stares at him with a look of contempt, not understanding what he wanted. He says his daughter is suffering from asthma and begs for help. The father becomes desperate and asks if they can at least take the young woman with them, stares at the man in silence, processing his desperate plea. Suddenly, her expression changes, and her face fills with a restrained fury. The soldier laughs at the situation and asks if our hero has gone completely nuts. He even scoffs, saying that sob stories don't work on their captain. But to everyone's surprise, the woman starts to cry in front of the soldier. With a voice thick with emotion, she tells her men to let them in. She then says they need more people and tells the father to wipe his nose first. The captain leads them inside while the soldier yells, annoyed by her decision. Our hero watches the woman calmly, a thoughtful look on his face. He then thinks with a slight smile that Captain Hyrie hadn't changed a bit. She was a retired soldier who was defending the district's supermarket. Despite being as cold as ice, she had a soft spot for stories of sacrifice. Suddenly, his daughter Damie calls out to him, asking what he was doing. The young woman complains that he didn't stick to the plan, and he tries to explain himself. But the soldier sees through the act and tells the girl to stop coughing immediately. The young woman gets dizzy and the soldier gets angry, asking if she's messing with him. Then the father holds his daughter and comforts her. While assessing their situation, he notices that her mental state is getting worse and that she needs to rest soon. Our hero thinks that all of this happened because of two unexpected variables. valuables. He still doesn't understand his body, which was bitten but survived and got stronger. That supermarket was the ideal survival route for the beginning of the apocalypse. The place had plenty of supplies and was the only one protected by real soldiers. With his daughter finally safe, the protagonist observes a massive, destroyed building. Our hero wonders why the neighboring building collapsed, and the soldier finds him pretty strange. The soldier begins to explain that 3 days ago, they were attacked by a zombie horde. On that day, Captain Hyrie fought bravely against the monsters to protect the shelter. To save everyone, the captain lured the horde into the building next to the market. She and her men escaped the building using a makeshift zip line. With that, the entire horde of undead was trapped inside that building. Afterwards, she detonated the explosives they had planted and crushed them all. The soldier says with a grin that the creatures were flattened like beef jerky. Our hero stares at the soldier in silence, and the soldier notices his strange look. Behind his sunglasses, the man maintains a serious and focused expression with a mocking smile. The soldier asks, "What's with the look he's given him?" The soldier says he can't possibly be thinking the zombie survived that. But suddenly, a giant shadow of a massive monster appears right behind the soldier. Red eyes glow in the darkness, revealing a terrifying and hungry monster. The soldier spins around in shock, his face filled with pure terror at the sight of the creature. From behind the rubble, a giant zombie emerges with a roar full of power and fury. Red eyes glow intensely in the darkness as it prepares to attack. Devastating blow, the creature smashes the ground, opening a large crater, but Captain Hyrie reacts quickly, managing to dodge the fatal attack by a hair's breadth. The monster's enormous arm grazes past her, destroying everything in its path. She then turns with a serious look, preparing to face this massive threat. Without hesitation, the woman charges toward the enemy, ready for hand-to-hand combat. The other soldiers panic, wondering where the monsters came from. The captain gets into a defensive stance, protecting the protagonist and his terrified daughter. With a furious shout, she orders all units to open fire immediately. Obeying the order, the soldiers fire their weapons with all their might against the horde. The shots hit the giant monster, but seem to do no damage to its skin. The creature glares at the soldiers with a look of pure fury, unfazed by the attack. Then the zombie prepares to attack the soldiers who are defenseless before it. The giant monster attacks with full force, crushing the soldiers without any mercy. Amid the chaos, one of the soldiers is paralyzed with fear, seeing his friends fall. The creature readies itself to crush the defenseless soldier with its huge, strong hands. But before the final blow, our hero shoves the soldier out of harm's way. At the same time, Captain Hyrie also attacks the monster with a strong and precise kick. The woman yells at the soldier to get it together or he's going to meet his end right there. She then realizes this creature is not an ordinary zombie like the other she's faced. With a new plan in mind, the soldier looks toward the supermarket behind her. The captain shouts for everyone to run inside the market for shelter and safety. Our hero tries to say something, but she tells him to shut up and keep running. He and his daughter run as fast as they can to escape the monster's fury. With a serious look, our protagonist prepares to use his new powers. He then stops running and positions himself to face one of the creatures blocking his path. With a powerful leap, the man flies toward the zombie, his fist brimming with energy. The soldier explains that her plan is to lure the monster to the barricade outside. She believes that not even that creature can break through the barrier instantly. But as she runs toward the shelter, the captain notices something and stops suddenly. The woman is shocked to see that there are still civilians on the first floor of the market. The people were supposed to have been evacuated, but they are there panicking and in danger. She stomps her foot on the ground as her plan can no longer work. The soldier then decides to distract the monster and tells the father and his daughter to get inside. The captain turns and looks at the young woman with a serious and worried expression. She then asks the girl why she's alone and where her father has gone. The woman gets furious and asks if her father ran away and abandoned her to her fate. But the young woman calmly points behind the captain and says he's right there. The soldier is confused and doesn't understand what the girl is trying to show her. She turns around slowly and her eyes widen in shock at the scene. Our hero was in the middle of the horde, destroying all the zombies with his fists. With a single powerful blow, he explodes a monster's head without difficulty. He lifts the monster's remains above his head, showing his strength to everyone. With that, the captain and the soldier are completely shocked shocked by the scene before them. The civilians are also frightened by the violence, and a father covers his daughter's eyes. The hand of one of the creatures falls lifelessly to the ground after the man's devastating attack. Our hero steps firmly on the bodies of the zombies he defeated. He stands atop the pile of monsters, looking a bit tired after the fight. The soldier then approaches him slowly, weapon in hand, staring at him seriously. The protagonist turns and apologizes to his daughter for breaking his promise. He says he couldn't keep the word he gave to his beloved girl, Damie, because he was too afraid of seeing her get hurt in front of him during this journey. But the captain is not moved by the scene and points her gun directly at him. With a suspicious look, the woman asks the man who he really is. Our hero looks at her calmly with a serious expression, showing no fear of the situation. Then he adjusts his glasses and introduces himself to everyone as Rao Minsk, but his daughter interrupts him, saying he's just Daisy's dad and nothing more. With a face full of fear, the young woman begs her father not to reveal his true identity, but he ignores her and says he's just a simple expert on the undead. The three of them stand amidst the wreckage as the tension in the air rises. The captain and the girl are surprised, and the soldier asks what he means by Ekert. He then explains that since the outbreak, he has analyzed the monster's weaknesses to survive. With a smile, the man says it was a pleasure to help and that he looks forward to working with all of them. The soldier smiles back, pretending to accept his explanation about being an expert. But suddenly, the woman grabs him by the collar with an expression of pure fury. His daughter screams in shock, and the captain tells the girl to be quiet and not to interfere. She then says that he defeated a bulletproof monster using only his bare hands. And to make matters worse, his red eyes are identical to those of the creatures they faced. The woman stares at him up close and asks if he's even a real human being. She yells and asks if he's making fun of her with this Heikert story. The soldier repeats that he beat a bulletproof monster without using any weapons. She gets closer and says his red eyes are exactly like the zombies. The soldier demands an answer and asks if he's even a real human being. Then he denies being human and explains that the soldier's shots did have an effect. He explains that the creature was already weakened, so he just delivered the final blow. The man says that the eater is born from the fusion of two zombies and has incredible defense, but he reveals that the creature's weakness was its jaw, which couldn't withstand the damage. In his thoughts, he scoffs, saying that maybe a steel sledgehammer would have worked. The captain then asks about his eyes, and he says he has a genetic condition. He points at her and says that looks like hers make him very uncomfortable. The man gets closer and asks the soldier if he still looks like a monster. The captain stares at him with a serious expression and seems to accept his explanation for now, but in her mind, the woman still thinks he's very suspicious and that something is wrong. The soldier thinks that a zombie would never protect its daughter like that anyway. After some thought, the captain decides to let them stay at the shelter. She turns and tells the two of them to get inside the supermarket for protection, but the soldier warns him that she'll be keeping an eye on him the whole time. "Mr. Expert?" The captain turns with a furious look, her expression one of pure disappointment. She then looks at her men fallen on the ground after the monster horde's attack. Two of her men run toward her and she asks if they're okay. Suddenly, the soldier lands a powerful kick on one of the soldiers in a fit of rage. The woman yells that in an emergency, civilians were supposed to go to the parking garage. He explains that they panicked, but she says everyone could have perished. With that, the captain threatens them, saying that if it happens again, she'll take care of them herself. The soldiers salute her fearfully, and she closes her eyes, looking very tired. One of the soldiers wishes the captain a good rest, but he seems annoyed with her. Inside the supermarket, we see many survivors, and one of them is thankful to be alive. Sitting on the floor, our hero's daughter asks what he was thinking. The young woman says she was relieved he didn't get caught lying to the soldier, with Dami scolds him, saying her heart almost exploded from that lie. Then the girl asks her father if he knew Captain Hyrie from somewhere before. The man denies it, but remembers all his past lives and encounters with her. The father is surprised that his daughter knows what bluffing is, and she says she learned it from him. With a smile, he confirms to the girl that she did indeed teach him that word. In a happy memory, he remembers her saying that her father taught her many things. Back in the present, the man stands up and says he's going to get something for them to eat. The young woman watches him walk away with a confused expression, not understanding her father at all. As he walks away, the two exchange a look full of affection and deep concern. At that moment, he remembers a time when his daughter took his sunglasses. The girl asked him to promise not to tell anyone about his big change, because if people found out about his powers, they might try to hurt him. With a serious look, the young woman insisted that he keep that secret under lock and key. Back in the present, our hero thinks that his beloved daughter was right all along. He picks up a box and understands that his identity must remain an absolute secret, because if people found out about his powers, the entire shelter would panic. Then the man returns with the food and calls out for his daughter, who was waiting patiently, but he finds her sleeping on the floor and sits down beside her with the box of supplies. Affectionately, the father covers his sleeping girl with a blanket to keep her warm, but he wonders why everything was so different this time. The man realized that the monsters were appearing much faster than before. In none of his 99 lives had this situation ever happened this way. The protagonist still didn't understand why the creatures were changing so much. Then he finally reaches a conclusion. The answer to everything was him. The scene shifts to a night view of the city, now overrun by the undead. In the nearby mountains, a sinister presence watches from the treetops. A strange being floats in the air, sensing our hero's presence in the city. Another aberration with multiple arms looks toward the city, searching for him. An entire horde of zombies gathers because they want him and his daughter gone. Ryu Minseochok doesn't know if his existence somehow disrupts their balance or if the monsters are simply afraid of the power he has awakened. But one thing was certain, and he could no longer ignore this important fact. To the creatures, our protagonist was also an unexpected variable. The scene then shifts, and our hero appears on top of a ladder in the middle of the night. He notices that all the zombies in the area are gathered there and is pleased with this. With a leap, the man lands on the ground, ready for the battle to come. He's happy because he won't have to search for them all over the city anymore. The horde of undead stares at him hungrily, and he prepares to start the fight. Then he grabs 2 ladders and says he needs to finish this before his daughter wakes up. With a smile, the father uses the ladders as a weapon and says he needs to cook for her. At that moment, one of the monsters charges toward him to begin the big attack. The entire horde of creatures rushes at him, their eyes filled with hunger. But a larger, stronger zombie stands out in the middle of the monster crowd. Our hero leaps into the air, dodging the creature's attacks with great agility. He then uses the ladder as a weapon to attack the zombies in a devastating blow. With a powerful swing, the man lands a direct hit on one of the creatures with the ladder. He spins in the air and hits several monsters at once with his weapon. The protagonist destroys one of the zombies' heads with a final precise blow. Suddenly, his hand glows with a blue energy and trembles with an unknown power that his eyes glow red, and he clenches his fist with all his might. Then he uses his weapon to create a beam of light that destroys the enemies in front of him. But he's faced with new centipede-like creatures blocking his path. The monsters prepare to spit a purple energy staring at him with red eyes. That a huge explosion of purple energy destroys the enemies in his path. The protagonist leaps into the air with his 2 improvised weapons in hand, ready to fight. He then uses his energy to attack and destroy all the monsters surrounding him. With a powerful blow, the man strikes the ground, creating a devastating shockwave. After the fight, he combines the 2 ladders, creating a new weapon to continue the battle. He then uses his new axe to launch the zombies into the air with a single strike. But suddenly, a creature with multiple arms appears to attack our hero. The man lands a powerful kick, destroying the aberration without any difficulty. At that moment, a zombie with tentacles in its mouth appears as a new threat. Our hero prepares for the attack, facing it with a serious and determined look. Our hero glares at the monster with a look full of fury covered in wounds. The scene then shifts to the next morning, and we see the sign for the A-Mart supermarket. Inside the shelter, the protagonist's daughter sleeps peacefully under a blanket. Her eyes open slowly as she awakens from a long and tiring sleep. Then the girl sits up and stretches her arms to wake up completely. At that moment, she notices someone approaching and is surprised by the scene. Her father appears with a smile and asks if his dear daughter slept well. He then hands her a plate of food with rice shaped like a heart. With a caring look, the man says she must be hungry and needs to eat. The young woman stares at the meal her father prepared and seems very moved by the gesture. With a happy smile, the girl agrees and looks ready to enjoy the food. Suddenly, the scene shifts to outside the market on a quiet, sunny morning. But in the captain's office, she yells angrily at one of her soldiers in front of her. The soldier insists that the noises they heard between 1 and 5 a.m. were real. According to the morning report, all the zombies in the area were found lifeless. The captain slams her fist on the table furiously seriously, asking how that's possible and wondering if the monsters fought each other. The soldier says he didn't believe it either, but he saw the scene with his own eyes. The woman leans on the table, shocked as the monsters vanished in just 4 hours, and she doesn't understand what happened. The soldier has an idea, and her eyes widen with a new realization. She sits down in her chair and tells the soldier to gather all the survivors immediately. With a serious look, she announces that the operation to escape the market is about to begin. Meanwhile, the young woman tells her father that she thinks the zombies are really gone for good. At that moment, the father places a yellow helmet on her head, to her complete surprise. He asks his daughter to listen carefully and not to take off that helmet for any reason. The young woman is confused by the request and sees the captain approaching with her men. The soldier uses a megaphone to get the attention of all the gathered survivors. She then announces that for some unknown reason, all the zombies in the area have been eliminated. Hearing the news, the survivors celebrate joyfully, thinking they are safe from all danger. But the captain announces with a serious look that they are leaving this place right now. The crowd is confused, and a man asks why they would leave if there are no more zombies around. The captain explains that 3 days ago, they lost contact with the 2nd Infantry Brigade. She says this brigade is the only survivor in the region and can take in all the civilians. But the survivors are furious and refuse to leave based on a single radio call. The woman then reassures them, saying she knows very well who was on the other end of the line. The person was the Blue Falcon, and that's why the soldier trusted him completely. Even so, the crowd is not convinced and thinks it's a suicide mission to follow a disconnected call. A man argues with the captain, yelling that they won't leave because the monsters won't come back. From the middle of the crowd, a guy in a cap watches the scene and says he expected this. He criticizes the woman's decision and questions if a man would have done the same. With that, the captain glares at him with a furious look and asks what he just said. Suddenly, a voice says no, and a foot steps forward from the crowd. Then, our hero walks calmly and states that the undead will return. The guy in the cap confronts him, asking who he thinks he is to know everything. But the man is startled by our protagonist's serious look and backs away a little. The hero then says that if they stay there, they'll just be monster food. He tells the man that staying there is the same as waiting for their own demise. The guy in the cap then asks if the protagonist can guarantee they'll survive. But our hero calmly replies that he can't guarantee anything at all. He turns to the crowd and asks if they want to survive without following the soldiers. Then the man questions if that's really possible for ordinary people like them. The survivors fall silent, thinking about our protagonist's words. One of the men agrees, saying that without the military's help, they'd already be gone. Another survivor says the only reason they've survived is because of them. With that, the entire crowd agrees to follow the captain and trust the soldiers. The soldier is completely shocked because he changed everyone's opinion in an instant. She then stares at him with a surprised expression, not understanding what happened. The captain wonders in shock who the heck that guy is and where he came from. The protagonist turns to her and says she doesn't need to thank him for the help. He explains that he's used to persuading people in very difficult situations. Then our hero says this is all about protecting himself and his daughter too. With his hand outstretched, he shows that he trusts her completely to lead the escape. With a smile, the man says that if it's the captain leading, he knows she'll succeed. The soldier looks at him surprised, as she didn't expect that kind of trust from him. With that, she announces to everyone that the escape operation will begin right now. Using the megaphone, Chihi swears that everyone will get out of that place alive. Outside, we see a convoy with buses and a truck ready for departure. The convoy then starts moving through the city, crossing a dangerous bridge. Inside the bus, his daughter wears the yellow helmet and watches the landscape with concern. The soldiers are also very tense and on edge during the journey. At the front of the line, the captain leads the convoy with a serious and highly focused look. A sign shows they are passing Uedo Island on their way to their destination. A soldier says it's strange to be crossing the Han River, but she tells him to stay sharp. The woman then says with a serious look that their journey is just beginning. Suddenly, the soldier screams a surgeon's name, and everyone is shocked by the scene. A horde of angel zombies jumps from an overpass, attacking the convoy convoy by surprise. The horde of undead runs toward the convoy with fury and immense hunger. The captain yells for the civilians and her team to go right while she goes left. It's explained that the monsters' first weakness is their highly sensitive hearing. The soldiers throw several cans on the ground to attract the creatures' attention. The creatures turn and run toward the noise, falling into the military's trap. The woman celebrates because the plan worked, and the zombies started following them. Then she tells her men to keep their distance and not let the monsters catch up. But the soldier desperately warns that there are now too many zombies chasing them closely. With a determined look, the captain yells for everyone to head toward the song bridge. But when they arrive, they see that the bridge is completely destroyed with no way out. The second weakness is that they always run in a straight line, so she yells for them to act. At that moment, the truck makes a sharp turn, swerving off the path of the destroyed bridge. The horde of monsters can't stop, and they all fall from the bridge straight into the water. One of the undead screams as it falls into the river along with all the other monsters. The truck speeds up and runs over the remaining monsters, escaping the deadly trap. The entire horde of undead plummets from the destroyed bridge straight into the river. With that, we see the remaining monsters on the road, and the third weakness of the zombies emerges. One of the undead roars, and it's revealed that their backside is their biggest weak spot. Suddenly, a steamroller appears and crushes one of the creatures without any mercy. Then, our hero appears driving the machine and yells that the steamroller is coming through. The machine is described as the king of construction vehicles, weighing dozens of tons. Just then, a two-headed zombie is hit head-on by the powerful yellow vehicle. Another creature screams in fury, but can't stop the force of that war machine. Without hesitation, the man runs over the entire horde with his devastating steamroller. But suddenly, a giant zombie and its followers appear for a new challenge. In the truck, the captain and her soldiers watch the scene, shocked and terrified. Then, the protagonist destroys the bridge, sending the giant monster and the others into the water. After the battle, our hero stares at the wreckage with a serious and determined look. The scene then returns to the convoy, which is now proceeding safely through the city. Inside the bus, the protagonist's daughter and an elderly woman rest, relieved and safe. The young woman looks at her father with a serious expression, very worried about him. The girl asks why he has to be the one driving, and the father says only he can do it. She then worries that the soldiers will find out the truth about his identity. Just then, someone announces the return of the captain's team, and Dami is shocked by the scene. But her father reassures her, saying she doesn't need to worry because he's just helping out. He promises the young woman that no one will discover his big secret. The girl sees her father and the team on the steamroller and doesn't understand what's happening. Suddenly, the captain yells for everyone to fall back and get behind her right now. A new horde of undead runs toward them with great fury and hunger. The steamroller moves forward, crushing the creatures blocking their path. The hero yells that they're going to push through all at once and speeds up the heavy vehicle. After breaking through the horde, the convoy continues down a much quieter road. On top of the vehicle, one of the soldiers calls out to the captain with a look of relief. Finally, they arrive at a military base, and the narration announces everyone's arrival. The hero thinks that this brigade survived for a long time and is a crucial point in the journey. He thinks that arriving there in just 8 days is record-breaking speed. Even so, the man knows he can't relax and let his guard down now, because if he acts recklessly, his daughter Dami could end up in danger. One of the soldiers praises him, saying he was amazing, Mr. Expert. The captain admits she was worried about having him on the team, but he saved everyone's lives. Soldier asks if he used to work in construction, but the hero says he just learned. With that, he gets off the machine, and the soldier thanks him for all his help. He says he's glad they arrived safely, and the captain asks what he said. Suddenly, a soldier appears and tells both of them to shut their mouths immediately. Sergeant Line, who welcomes the captain and says he was expecting her. The woman asks if he knows her, and the sergeant says Colonel Chai informed him. Surprised, the soldier questions him about this colonel, and the soldier confirms the information. The sergeant says the colonel mentioned that a stubborn officer would cause a scene. The captain asks where a Colonel Ch is at this very moment. The soldier explains that he's at the back gate because some zombies showed up over there. The soldier asks in shock if the colonel went to handle the situation personally. She then questions if he took troops with him, and the sergeant replies that he did not. With a confident smile, the soldier looks at her, leaving the woman confused. A shadow emerges, revealing the image of a strong and imposing man. To everyone's shock, the sergeant says the colonel went to face the monsters alone. The scene then shifts to the back gate where a soldier is timing something. He looks at his watch and sees that 35 minutes and 27 seconds have passed. The soldier then shouts excitedly that the colonel has set a new record. The colonel smashes a monster's head and says that an axe is the best weapon. With a smile on his face, he shows that he enjoys fighting with his own hands. For the soldier, it was much more satisfying to eliminate the monsters personally. Then it's revealed that he is the Blue Falcon Colonel Chapongo of the 2nd Brigade. The soldier worries about the colonel, but he just laughs in his subordinate's face. The colonel explains that at his level, he can read the monsters' movements. He knows exactly the fighting capabilities of each and every one of them. The colonel yells that his men would be useless and would only get in his way in battle. Then he stretches and complains about his joints, saying that age catches up to everyone. With that, the man complains about his men and wishes someone more capable would show up. A giant zombie gets up and the soldier turns surprised by the scene. The colonel asks the creature how it was still alive after all that. Then the monster roars furiously and charges to attack the soldier with all its might. But before the final blow, a mysterious figure intervenes with a devastating strike. The soldiers are shocked by the scene and wonder what that strange thing was. The Cull then prepares for the fight, facing the new threat with his axe in hand. He says that at his level, he can see things much more clearly. At that moment, demonic image appears representing the power he feels. The soldier then faces our hero and says he knows exactly how powerful he is. The protagonist introduces himself as Ryu Mincio and says he came to help with the situation. But with a cry of fury, the colonel raises his axe to attack our hero. The Blue Falcon delivers a deadly, hate-filled blow against the man. The soldiers scream desperately, not understanding why the colonel attacked a civilian. One of the soldiers is in shock and can't believe what he's seeing. But to everyone's surprise, our hero stops the axe with just 2 fingers. The Blue Falcon is stunned. He never expected a mere man to stop his blow. With that, the soldier yells for everyone to get inside and activate the red alert immediately. Then the colonel realizes that this man is actually a monster with red eyes. Our hero says that the colonel's eyes can't be deceived. Then the man calls him by his full name, and the soldier asks how he knew that. With a simple flick of his fingers, the protagonist shatters the axe blade into pieces. The Blue Falcon says he needs to stay there, and the hero understands he'll have to convince him, but he knows that words alone won't be enough to resolve this situation, so he's going to show him in the way the colonel likes and understands best. The soldier looks at him with a grin, ready for the challenge to come. Our protagonist clenches his fist, preparing to show his true strength. He then says he's going to show the Blue Falcon who he really is. Our hero then gets into his fighting stance and prepares for combat. The colonel asks if he really wants to fight him right now. With a smile, he says he's seen a lot of crazy people, but this situation has piqued his interest. In the blink of an eye, the two charge at each other at high speed. The soldier is enveloped in a blue aura and says he accepts his opponent's challenge. Then he runs toward him and says he's going to see what kind of guy he really is. Suddenly, a red alert sounds and civilians are ordered to the shelter. The captain wonders what the alert is and the soldier tells them to follow procedures. Another captain named Guac approaches and asks if she is Captain Shaeri. The woman turns to him and asks what is happening right now. With a furious look, the soldier questions his actions and where he was looking. He points his weapon and says that the monster who attacked the colonel mentioned her name. The woman is shocked and asks which monster he was talking about. The soldier then says the creature's name was Ryu Minio and asks who he is. She then looks at the crowd and realizes that was the name of her expert. The protagonist's daughter is shocked to hear her father's name mentioned. Meanwhile, the fight begins, and our hero charges forward with his fist engulfed in flames. He lands a powerful punch on the soldier, breaking the wall behind the man. With that, the wall is completely destroyed by the impact of that blow. The colonel then shouts, asking if he still dares to call himself a human. Then the expert retaliates, landing a powerful punch to the Blue Falcon's face. The impact of the blow sends the soldier's foot dragging across the ground with great force, his red eyes glowing. The protagonist attacks again without hesitation. The colonel groans in pain, but manages to stand firm against the strong attack. Our hero then throws him into the air with a swift and precise blow. The Blue Falcon is surprised. He didn't expect to be thrown up like that. The two trade blows at high speed in a battle of pure brute force. After exchanging blows, they both back away to catch their breath and analyze the situation. Suddenly, the soldier charges forward and grabs his opponent's collar in anger. With a furious look, he asks if our hero is making fun of him. The colonel asks if the previous punch was at full power and if the hero was holding back. The expert confirms that he was, and the Blue Falcon is furious, but he explains that if he used everything. The protagonist looks at the soldier with a calm and very serious expression during the conversation. Then with his red eyes, he says he could have ended the colonel's life. The soldier falls silent because in his mind, he knows the man is right. From the start of the fight, the Blue Falcon felt the power difference in every cell of his body. He finally understands the overwhelming abyss that exists between their strengths. Desperate, the colonel then asks what exactly our hero wants from him. With a calm look, the protagonist says he wants his protection to survive. The soldier starts laughing loudly, finding the expert's request completely ridiculous. Angrily, he asks why a monster like him would need protection. Our hero looks at him with a serious expression and says, "It's not quite like that. It's not him who needs help to stay alive in this dangerous place. The person who needs protection is the young woman named Ryu Dami, who is with the captain." Full of worry, he reveals that the girl is his beloved daughter. He then begs the colonel to let him and his daughter stay in the brigade. To the Blue Falcon's surprise, our hero kneels before him. With a desperate look, he implores the soldier to accept his request. The man then shouts that he'll do anything if the colonel agrees to his proposal. The scene shifts to the military base at night with a full moon in the sky. In the civilian shelter, we see survivors talking and walking around. One of the survivors asks if the other heard the soldiers talking about a monster. With that, they start to suspect the expert and his strange red eyes. Meanwhile, our hero is tied up in a dark room like a prisoner. With a calm look, he seems to accept his situation and waits for what's to come. The colonel then says he'll allow the people he brought to stay in the brigade, but the Blue Falcon says the real problem is him and he doesn't know how to trust him. The expert has an idea and suggests the soldier keep him in isolation. He then tells the man to lock him in solitary confinement if he doesn't trust his word. With a determined look, he swears he will prove his worth no matter how long it takes. Trapped in a dark cell, he swears to himself that he is no threat to them. Suddenly, he hears a noise and sees a figure appearing in the window of his cell. To his surprise, it was his beloved daughter Dami, looking at him with a smile. The worried father asks if his girl is okay, and she reassures him that she is. With a smile, the young woman explains that the soldiers took good care of all of them. She even says she got permission to go out because the shelter was too stuffy. With a sad look, the protagonist then apologizes, leaving his daughter confused. He then explains that he promised not to stand out, but broke that promise again. With that, the father asks if the young woman is very disappointed with his actions. But to his surprise, the girl gives him a light tap on the head. The young woman explains that if it weren't for him, no one would have made it there safely. With a smile on her face, she tells her father to hold his head high and not to worry. The girl then looks at him affectionately and says she trusts him no matter what. Suddenly, she remembers she has to go because roll call is about to start. Then the young woman says goodbye to her father and wishes him a good night's sleep. With a smile, he wishes a good night's sleep to his beloved daughter, Dami. Then the father watches his girl run away from the cell with a peaceful heart. The young woman walks back to the shelter with a slight relieved smile on her face. The expert remains in his cell thinking about the well-being of his dear daughter. But suddenly the girl's expression changes and she looks very worried about him. A single tear falls to the ground, showing her sadness and concern for her father. Away from her father's eyes, the young woman cries silently over the whole situation. Meanwhile, in solitary, our hero stands up and remains silent in the darkness. His face shows the determination of a man who will do anything for his family. Suddenly, he hears footsteps approaching and someone stops in front of his cell. It was Captain Guac, who came to call him by name for a new and important mission. The soldier then explains that Colonel Chapungo is looking for him right now. The scene then shifts to the Blue Falcon and his men in a meeting room. The colonel points to a location on the map and says something was found there. Reveals that 20 minutes ago, sensors detected signs of survivors. Furthermore, he says that along with the survivors, a strange freaky was detected at the location. The soldier explains that speed is essential, so he will send an elite team. The Blue Falcon then says that he himself will be part of this important operation. He points to our hero and chooses him to be the second member of the team. With that, the colonel asks if he can prove the promise he made for his daughter. In response, our hero uses his strength and shatters the handcuffs that were restraining him. As the metal pieces fall, the soldiers are shocked by his strength. With a serious look, the expert asks when they will depart for the mission. The Blue Falcon cracks a satisfied smile at our hero's response. With an excited look, the colonel replies that the mission will begin right now. The rescue operation at Goopable Station finally begins. We then see the destroyed city at night under the light of the moon and stars. Amidst the rubble, we see the entrance to the subway station, which is their destination. Inside, a frightened baby is one of the survivors they need to rescue. Along with the child, we see several other terrified civilians waiting for a rescue. The parents try to calm their little daughter, Dean, who won't stop crying. Just then, one of the survivors complains about the noise, saying the place is already too stuffy. An elderly woman defends the child, and the mother apologizes for the awkward situation. The little baby stares at the ceiling with her innocent and very curious eyes. Suddenly, the little girl points up, and the mother is confused by the gesture. The woman then looks up, and her face fills with fear at what she sees. On the ceiling, a strange figure watches them from the station's shadows. The creature's face reveals a sinister smile in the complete darkness of the place. His face transforms into a monster with a red eye and sharp teeth. The creature lets out a powerful roar, and a horde of zombies appears on the scene. One of the men who was complaining is now a monster and glares at the survivors. Suddenly, a truck runs over the entire horde with our hero and the colonel inside. The Blue Falcon yells that his truck is better than the expert steamroller. He says the truck has more mobility and speed is the key to success. With that, the soldier holds up two fingers and reveals there are two variables in the mission. The soldier explains that the first major variable is the collapse of the subway station. He says the entrance and the subway tracks are completely blocked by debris. With that, the Blue Falcon raises one finger and prepares to reveal the second part of the plan. He points to the tablet and reveals that the second variable is an unknown creature. An unidentified thing is trapped inside with all the survivors. With a serious look, the man says that's why they can't waste a single second. Then the soldier hands the tablet to our hero, who is surprised by the gesture. He explains that luckily the station's ventilation ducts are still intact. The plan is to infiltrate through the ducts and rescue the civilians as fast as they can. With a shout, he says everyone will get out alive and asks if they understood the plan. But to the Blue Falcon's surprise, the expert replies that he didn't understand anything. With a serious look, he states with absolute certainty that this mission will fail. The colonel is shocked by the response and asks what he just said. Our hero then remembers that the colonel always failed, even with the best plans. He remembers that the number of people rescued in all attempts was always 0. The scene then returns to the subway station and shows the panicked face of the baby's mother. Suddenly, the woman opens her eyes and is completely terrified by the situation. She then realizes that she, along with the others, is trapped in spiderwebs on the ceiling, hanging upside down. All the civilians are confused and terrified. The woman becomes desperate and asks what's happening, not understanding the situation. Her husband also screams, desperately calling out his daughter Dean's name. Just then, the web holding the woman breaks, and she falls hard onto the station floor. The baby's father asks if she's okay and shouts the little girl's full name. The man then asks the guy next to him to let him go, and he seems very confused. He asks if the other guy saw his daughter, but the complainer yells that he doesn't know anything. Furious, the guy in the cap yells for them to untie him from the web immediately, but he sees the elderly woman who defended the baby crawling toward him along the web. With a voice full of fear, the man asks what the old lady is doing there. Then the woman's eyes glow red, revealing her true monster form. That the creature opens its huge mouth, showing its rotten teeth to the man. Then the old woman attacks the man with impressive force and great fury. The other survivors panic and beg the creature to stop the attack. Suddenly, the man's body gets up and he turns to the other survivors. Now transformed, he walks slowly toward the civilians with a vacant stare. Frightened, the survivors point at him, not believing what was happening. Scream screams desperately as she realizes he is now a hungry zombie. With that, all the civilians run away from the new threat in a total panic. People wonder where the monsters came from and run for their lives. The mother despairs because the entrance is blocked and her daughter Dean is out of sight. On her face, we see the pure terror of a mother who lost her daughter in the chaos. With nowhere to go, the woman runs to the back of the station in search of shelter. shelter, but she stops in front of a staircase and realizes the place has no exit. One of the men yells at her because that path was also completely blocked. At that moment, a father desperately yells for his son to run faster and escape. The boy screams desperately to his father, warning him of the danger ahead. Just then, the man finds himself completely surrounded by the creatures amidst the pure chaos. The mother hears her little daughter's voice and runs down the stairs to find her. With determination, she promises she will get to her baby no matter what happens. Without a second thought, she runs down as fast as her legs can carry her. Reaching the bottom of the stairs, the woman desperately shouts her little girl's name, but a huge and terrifying shadow appears in front of her, blocking the entire path. Then, a giant monster with a baby's body and spider legs appears on the scene. The bizarre creature stares at the woman with a vacant look, full of hunger. The aberration's face is covered in blood and tears of pure agony and sadness. Completely paralyzed with fear, the mother watches the horrific scene in silence. Not believing what she's seeing, she goes into denial and starts crying desperately. The woman then tries to convince herself that this is all just a horrible nightmare. Suddenly, large fairy explosion occurs, destroying everything in its path. The explosion illuminates the place, and a mysterious figure appears in the station. The giant monster screams in pain as it's completely engulfed by the flames. Fallen on the ground, the little baby's mother watches everything with a face full of despair. Then our hero says that the colonel tried everything but never managed to save anyone. With a serious look, the expert explains that, in other words, the situation is dire. Then we see the protagonist standing outside, ready to handle everything his own way. He knows that this mission cannot be completed using only human methods. With that, Ryumens unleashes his power and prepares to face that creature. The monster is a skinwalker that hunts its prey by knocking them unconscious first. Additionally, the aberration can imitate human faces to deceive them all. This is a Heil spider-type creature and very dangerous to confront. The creature then roars in fury and prepares to attack our hero, but the expert launches a powerful energy blast at the giant monster. The attack travels at high speed, heading toward the aberration with full power. With the monster is hit head-on by the blow and can't dodge in time. The attack lands a direct hit, causing devastating damage to the bizarre creature. Without giving the creature time to recover, our hero charges forward with a powerful punch. With that, he lands a direct hit on the aberration with his flaming fist, destroying it. Treat screams in pure agony as its body is disintegrated by the attack. He then prepares for one last blow to end it all once and for all, but suddenly he stops his attack upon hearing a voice pleading for him to stop. Our hero then turns and sees the little baby's mother staring at him with desperation. With tears in her eyes, the woman screams for him not to hurt her beloved child. At that moment, the expert realizes that the aberration has not yet been defeated. A powerful roar, the creature opens its mouth full of sharp teeth. The monster then ignores our hero and charges toward the little baby's mother. Lying on the ground, the woman faces her end up close and is paralyzed with pure fear. But before the final blow, Daisy's father leaps in front of her to protect her. With his body engulfed in flames, he prepares to counter the attack with all his fury. The man stares down the creature as it roars and prepares for combat. With that, the protagonist delivers a final blow, destroying the monster once and for all. He uses all his strength to get up and finish the fight once and for all. In his thoughts, he remembers that no matter what they say, he has a promise to keep. The image of his beloved daughter Dami smiling appears and says she trusts him. With that, he screams with all his might, telling himself to get up and fight. Then he punches the ground with a powerful blow, creating a huge shockwave. The energy blast throws the creature back, but it still manages to get up. The monster glares at him with its red eyes shining, full of a deep hatred. Huge mouth open. The creature prepares to attack our hero with everything it has, but the expert is faster and lands a powerful punch right in the aberration's face. Slow is so strong that the impact destroys the monster's face in a single move. Wounded, the creature backs away and screams a strange name in a voice full of agony, but our hero says he's wrong and charges for a final definitive attack. Then the creature shows its true form, becoming an even stronger monster. With devastating blow, he finally defeats the aberration and ends the fight. The monster's body falls lifeless to the ground, and the man watches the scene in silence. The defeated creature lets out a strange sound as if it were crying in pain. Our hero approaches and says that's the sound a monster should make. With his body on fire, he glares at the creature and tells it what's about to come out of its mouth. With a serious look, he states that the only thing that will come out of there is a scream. The creature glares at him with its sharp teeth and an expression of pure hatred. Without wasting time, the man charges forward with a powerful, energy-filled punch. The scene shifts to the survivors screaming desperately in a hallway. They use all their strength to block the door and prevent the invasion. The people know that if the barrier breaks, they'll all be finished. One of the men questions if they're zombies, and another tells him to shut up and help with the tension rises among the survivors who are scared and confused. Suddenly, smoke starts to enter the area and everyone begins to cough heavily. One of the young men panics and screams that they're all going to perish this way. The man yells at the young man but is interrupted by someone calling him Dad. The son then asks his father if he doesn't feel something very strange. The young man then points to the door and says that the creature's movement suddenly stopped. Without an eerie silence falls over the place and no one understands what happened. Suddenly the door is smashed open with incredible force, throwing everyone back. The son screams desperately for his father to get down as the door was completely broken. The man stares at the figure in the doorway and asks confusedly who he was and what he wanted. The other survivors are also shocked and ask who this mysterious man was. Then we see our hero from behind with the baby's mother, his body covered in wounds. The scene then flashes back to just before the rescue at Gopal station began. There we see the entrance to the ventilation duct, which would be their entry route. With a swift movement, the grate is opened and Colonel Chanongo appears from underground. The Blue Falcon and his soldiers gather to begin the rescue operation. With a confident smile on his face, the soldier seems ready for any challenge. The narration reveals that a total of 37 people were saved in that mission. In a memory, we see soldiers finding one of the civilians trapped in a strange web. One of the soldiers is confused by the scene and doesn't understand what that thing was. The mother holds the little baby in her arms as soldiers surround her for protection. The narration says that saving all those people from that place was a miracle. Then our hero's daughter says that thanks to this, her father became a special person. Amidst a happy crowd, the young woman observes everything with a calm and serious look. With that, the protagonist is acclaimed by everyone as the man of miracles. With his face covered, he waves to the crowd with a smile. A Captain Hayeri and the soldier are shocked, and the soldier calls him incredible. The Blue Falcon celebrates, saying he passed the test with a satisfied smile. Our hero observes everything with a calm and serene look, unconcerned with the fame. The protagonist's daughter approaches him amidst the celebrating crowd. The two exchange a look full of affection, and the man seems very happy. His daughter looks at him with admiration and a slight smile on her face. Then the young woman hugs him tightly, and the mission report is shown. But elsewhere, someone says the situation was getting very bad. We see a soldier enter Colonel Chipono's room to take care of him. The soldier leaves the room and tells the colonel to rest, saying he'll bring medicine later. With that, the door closes and the soldier is left alone in the complete darkness of the room. We then see the colonel lying in bed with a compress on his forehead, looking very sick. But when we see his neck, we notice he's sweating coldly and his skin is changing. Suddenly, his face twists into a gruesome smile and his eyes become devoid of life. At the military base, a big party is happening to celebrate the mission's success. The rescued survivors celebrate with relief and the baby's mother smiles happily. With that, one of the men grabs a cold drink to enjoy the celebration. Even Colonel Chapungo laughs loudly, seeming very happy with the result. He sits with the expert and says he always knew he was capable of great things. The soldier continues saying he never thought our hero would do so well. With a smile, the Blue Falcon congratulates him and asks him to keep it up. The colonel then says they should party all night, but in moderation, because if they overdid it, those who passed on first would be very sad. Then the soldier raises his drink and proposes a toast to all the departed. He toasts to them who will survive until the end of this dangerous world. The two men toast together, and the expert looks at him with a serious expression. His red eyes glow in the darkness as he seems to be thinking about something. The colonel takes a sip and asks why our hero doesn't ask him any questions. Our MC then asks if he doesn't want to know why his plan failed or how he became a monster. The Blue Falcon looks at him and says he already knows everything, leaving the expert surprised. He takes a sip and says he's not interested in any stories. Our hero looks at him with a serious expression, not understanding the soldier's attitude. Then the colonel smiles and says says he's interested in the will to save people. With a smile, he says the people who are here are all he needs. Our hero looks at him with a slight smile, understanding what the soldier means. The expert says the colonel hasn't changed a bit, and the soldier is confused. He then asks something, and we see the rescued baby's mother at the party. The Blue Falcon asks why he's here if his destination was somewhere else. Sets Razi has a job to do, and the soldier is curious. Then he explains that every time he was impatient and rushed to get there, he remembers one of his past lives amidst a heavy downpour. In all of his attempts, the result was never any good for him. Back in the present, the soldier looks at him and asks if he's really that. Our hero asks how he knew, and the Blue Falcon says he just noticed. The soldier then says that the hardest thing to control in the world is a child. He notices Captain Chia isn't there and asks where she went. Suddenly, the Blue Falcon downs his drink in one go, and our hero is shocked. His daughter, Dami, calls him, and the soldier asks the young woman to bring more drinks. She then says she's tired and is going to head in first to get some rest. The father gets up and says the path is dark, so he'll go with her. With that, father and daughter walk away, and the colonel watches the scene in silence. Our hero smiles warmly at his daughter. He would do anything for her. The soldier thinks that despite everything, he's still a father and understands his attitude, but he thinks about their destination and says he can't let him go so easily. With a serious look, the Blue Falcon says that thanks to him, he can make a new plan. Then a new plan from Colonel Chapungo begins as he watches the two. A soldier arrives with the drink and calls him, but the soldier seems distracted. His eyes look strange and he repeats the title of the brigade commander. Suddenly, the soldier is terrified and the other survivors are startled by the scene. The soldier is terrified, his face covered in sweat as he warns that they have a problem. Meanwhile, our hero and his daughter Dami are standing alone under the night sky. He then looks at his girl with a serious expression, seeming to think about something important. With that, the father remembers the colonel's words about children being hard to control. The young woman then seems a bit pensive and worried about the whole situation. The man calls out to his daughter, and she turns a little confused, not understanding what he wants. He then says he has something very important to ask her at that moment. With a serious look, the father asks the young woman if she's afraid of him. He remembers his monster form and wonders if she isn't scared of his appearance. Da accepted him as her father without hesitating for a second, even with his change. With a worried expression, he asks his daughter once more if she isn't afraid. To his surprise, the girl admits that she is, in fact, very afraid of him. The young woman confesses that she was afraid every day that he might take her life. 2. With her head down, she says she can't pretend anymore because it's too hard for her. With tears in her eyes, the girl screams and begs her father to tell her the truth. The girl screams and asks where her real father is, calling him a monster. But suddenly he snaps out of his daydream and realizes it was all his imagination. His daughter looks at him with concern and touches his arm to get his attention. With a confused look, the young woman asks what he was thinking about so seriously. The father tries to play it off, saying it was nothing, but a strange smile appears on his face. Suddenly, the girl starts coughing, and he asks if she's feeling all right. She says the cough won't stop, and he advises her to bundle up so it doesn't get worse. With a smile, the father tells her to go inside, saying he'll get some medicine for her. But suddenly, his expression changes, and his eyes glow with a red fury. Then he calls out his daughter's full name, and the girl turns to him. In a fit of rage, our hero charges toward the young woman to attack her. His hand glows with energy, and the girl is paralyzed with fear at the scene. The young woman screams desperately as her father's hand approaches her rapidly. With a swift movement, the man grabs his daughter's neck with great force. She asks what's wrong, and he stares at his hand, not understanding what he's done. He opens his hand and sees that it was actually just a mosquito he had crushed. Suddenly, a code black alert is initiated, and an alarm sounds throughout the base. Back at the party, the soldier who brought the drink starts to transform into a monster. With a furious look, the Blue Falcon stares at the scene, not believing what he was seeing. The soldier yells that the situation is real, and all the survivors panic. His face transforms into an aberration with a gruesome smile and rotten